Welcome back to High Heels to Happy Feels. I'm Natalie.
And I'm Stephanie. Hello. I've been, thinking about a really interesting question because I just want to jump into this with you, Nat. And I want you to actually sit with this before your brain like tries to rush and give the automatic answer. When
Mhm.
was the last time you genuinely didn't know what you wanted? Like, really? Not when you said, oh, I don't know, but when did you actually truly not know? Because I've been paying attention to how often that phrase gets used right now. That I don't know, I'm still figuring it out, or I need more time. And what I'm noticing, like in my own life, in conversations with the people that I care about, in everything that I'm watching collectively right now, all over social and the news and so on, most of the time, we already know. Would you agree?
I would absolutely, well, okay. Most of the time, yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, because the knowing's there. What we don't have or feel like it's feel. It's what we feel like we don't have is the permission, right? To act on it.
Okay, so that once you finish the statement, that makes a lot of sense. It's feeling like you have to have permission to do something that you already feel strongly about, or you know what you want to do.
Oh my God. And that's what this week is all about. It's not the wound that shows up when something new begins, because we've talked about that in the previous weeks, right? A lot. This is different. This is the moment where that clarity for us really becomes undeniable, and you're running out of places to put it.
We've got a lot to get into, but I need to check in first because something happened to me this week that is so directly on this topic, it's almost embarrassing.
Oh God. All right. Okay. Before we get into actually what's happening astrologically this week, tell me more because I feel like there's something in the air with it going on
So,
with you.
okay. I have been saying the same sentence for, I don't know, maybe like 2 months. And
Oh
I
God.
just, yeah,
Which one? Which sentence is that, girl?
I just need one good week to reset, right?
Maybe 2 months, maybe more than just a week.
Yeah, that's it. That's the sentence though. Every Sunday I think it. Every Monday I say it out loud to at least one person. Every Friday I look back and I'm like, okay, so maybe not this week, but next week. Next week will be the one in which I will have more time.
How's that working out for you?
It's not. And what I realized this week, and this one, it kind of landed hard, is that I have been waiting for the week to be different. Like the week is the variable. Like if the
We,
calendar cooperates and nothing unexpected happens, then I can get through my list and then I'll reset.
that's
The week is
funny.
not the variable. I,
Right?
I am the variable, right? Because
Yeah.
I've had quieter weeks in these 2 months. I've had weeks where nothing dramatic happened and I still didn't rest and I still didn't reset because I kept finding things that needed to be done first.
Before what? Before you could take the time?
Um, I would say more like before I earned it.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think somewhere underneath all of this, I've been operating with this belief that rest is something you get at the end. Like it's a reward for finishing. And since finishing is the moving target, since there's always going to be something else, I never actually get there. Like, think about when we were growing up, you always had to do your chores before you could go out with your friends, or you always had to, like, there was always something, like, it was a reward to reset.
Yep. And your finish line just keeps moving. So that permission just never comes.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And, you call it the busy season, or I just got a lot going on right now. And both of those things are true, but they're also
There.
convenient.
Yep.
Yeah, because it's really circumstantial. I don't have to look at the pattern, but the pattern is I don't feel like I have enough to stop. I haven't done enough to stop ever.
Yeah. And that's hard, right? Because when you're in it, when you're running the list, all the daily tasks that we have, and then just pushing through, because there's a lot going on there, but what's it feel like in your body?
Tight. Like I'm slightly braced for something all of the time. Like something could fall if I loosen my grip. Like I'm hanging on to all of it.
Ugh. And if you realize what, and okay, so how has that shifted for you as you've realized what's really going on and what you're doing there?
I realized that I'm just really tired.
Mm,
Like once I step back, it's like immediately I'm tired, as if my body had been waiting for me to figure this out so it could finally say, yes, that, that's the thing.
yeah. And that's the tell, right?
Hmm.
When our bodies exhale into the truth of something that's not a coincidence. I mean, that's really our whole system going, okay, he finally gets it, right?
And it's not a fun exhale.
The
No.
best ones aren't. But this is why I wanted to start here because I think what you just described is so perfect for this whole conversation because it's not a scheduling problem. It's not even really a burnout problem, although we're going to talk about burnout later in this podcast because there are some numbers around that. But it's really a permission problem. And that is so much what this week of whole is all about.
Yeah, I walked right into
Yeah,
it.
you did. Yep. Okay. All right. So let's talk about why this is showing up for so many people right now. Because you're not alone. I'm not alone in any of this by a long shot. So I want to name some things for people that are listening that are like a living in a version of this, right? That
Mhm.
there's some sort of version of this happening for you right now that you may not have the language for it yet. So think of it this way. Maybe you're in a relationship that if you're really being honest with yourself, you've left internally a long time ago. You're physically showing up, you're being patient, you're doing the right things, you're being kind, you're doing the work, you're going through the motions, but something in you checked out a while ago. And
So I
you,
think,
right? Go ahead.
well, I'm just, thinking about all the relationships people can look, find yourself in this because you can look back over a period of time and see the relationships that you have left, like that point where you checked out. Yeah. Anyway,
Right.
sorry.
But it's
Yeah.
true. It's so true. And
So
that is
true.
it's a good point because you can examine all of them historically and say, when did I really check out of that? And oh,
Yeah,
I
because it
wish
may
I
not
would
be
have.
you today, but you've definitely been through this, whether it's a friend or
Right.
a partner
Right.
or
Right. And you know, like there's relationships just because of our age and where we are in our lives. There's a lot of relationships. And you look at them and go, oh, if only I would have left sooner. If only I would have. And you call it going through a rough patch when you're in it, because calling it what it actually is feels like too much when you're in that moment. But if you look at that, what would you have done? I mean, what could you have done had you actually listened to yourself in that moment and weren't seeking, waiting for something else?
yeah, that is such a good like retrospective, or even if now you're walking through that. So I've got another one.
Okay.
You've been saying you're like exploring your options at work, but you know that the environment isn't right and that the recognition isn't coming, that you've given this more than it's returning to you. You've known for months, you're just waiting for a reason that feels big enough to justify the disruption of leaving. And I bring that up because of, situational things here at Immersive Spirit.
Right. Of course. And what's fun about all this is you notice that, you ask the three people what you think you should do, right? I mean,
Hmm.
we laugh about how this is situational with immersive spirit right now because this was me in planning and thinking about should I, do I want to, noticing those things for me. But when you're asking different people looking for those answers, right? You're saying, what should I do about this? What do you think about this? What do you think? And when that third one finally tells you what the first two didn't, basically giving you the answer you wanted because it's what you've wanted to do all along, it's what you wanted to hear, you
Hmm.
suddenly felt like you had your answer. You stopped asking other people, right? That's not gather.
Absolutely.
That's not gathering perspective. You're shopping, you're totally permission shopping. You're shopping for permission to take a next step.
Oh my God, that is such a way to, that's so accurate. Right? Like you've been saying, I'm not ready for something you absolutely want. But when you go quiet and honest with yourself, it's not that you're not ready, it's that you're not sure you're allowed to want it that much. So you get that perspective and you get that permission.
Yes. And you've been
Hmm.
performing,
Yeah.
you know, you're patient, you've been in this dynamic for 6 months longer than you should have been. It stopped working a long time ago, and you're doing it politely and graciously, like we said in the relationship example, right? It's the same thing. But every time you smile through something that doesn't sit right, part of you quietly is paying a tab. I mean, you have to look like this is costing you something. And guess what, baby? Your tab has come due.
And last week and moving into the week ahead, something is definitely making all of those tabs feel overdue at once. So I'm going to zoom out for just a second because this isn't just personal. It's like the collective is having this exact moment right now, and it's showing up in some pretty visible ways, don't you think?
Oh, totally. And I mentioned something about the statistics earlier. So let's start with work because the data on this to me is really striking. Burnout in 2026 is at record levels. It's more than 75% of workers reporting it. And that's according to the DHR Global 2026 survey.
Wow.
That's a huge number.
That's a wow.
Yeah. And here's what's actually stopped me in my tracks when I'm reading this. The fastest growing driver of that burnout is not the long, long hours you're putting in or the overwhelming workload. And I'm sorry, but I'm speaking for my team, my previous team, who I adore. And I know that as if they were to listen to this, they'd get it. But it's lack of recognition.
Hmm.
People are contributing more and absorbing more and delivering more and asked over and over, do more, do more, do more. And they're not being seen. They're being seen less. And that specific driver has nearly doubled in a single year.
Yeah,
Shocking to me.
it
Yeah.
is shocking. It is shocking. And you know, those surveys, like people can't even be honest on them. Anyway, because you know, people know what they want. They want to feel like what they give and do matters. It's like almost a purpose. And they're not confused about that. Like we sign up for things and but we want it to matter. And what they're doing is waiting for the environment to change enough that they can say so without it costing them something.
Right? Which is exactly the pretending not to know pattern, but it's on a systemic level.
Yeah.
And we'll get into the astrology here in a little bit, but the Taurus new moon coming this week is asking us specifically, because it's in Taurus, it's what are you worth
Mm,
and what standard are you building from? Not what have you been tolerating, but what are you going to choose going forward? Which I think is a really big, important question for everyone, regardless of jobs, relationships, whatever it is you're working through.
yeah, that's powerful. Those are good. That's a really good way to look at things. All right, so I also wanted to look at what's going on in the dating culture, which I kind of find fascinating right now.
Yeah,
There is a major shift toward what's being called slow dating, fewer connections, more intentional ones, and people are demanding clarity earlier. Like the data shows Gen Z women in particular going into first dates, already talking about their long-term values and goals, even finances. Things previous generations would have considered wildly forward.
right. And I love this. Go Gen Z women. They already know what they want. They have stopped pretending that compatibility is something that you figure out after 6 months or a year of confusing and fake conversations, and they avoid the pretense. I love
Yeah.
that. They're not uncertain. They've just been culturally trained to perform uncertainty as a form of not coming on too strong. And that was us traditionally, right? And I think that's so cool. What a great example.
Yeah, I think it's magic. And there's something else in the dating conversation around situationships.
Oh God, aren't those insane
I
situations?
know
Yeah.
it's funny, but the data shows like 90% of people say situationships are common, but
Yeah.
essentially nobody says they want one. Yet surveys show anywhere from 40 to 60% of adults have been in one. And that number climbs even higher among people in their 20s and 30s. So why do they keep happening? And
Right.
it's because one or both people is pretending to be okay with ambiguity, when what they actually want is for the other person to show up differently. And it's not confusion, that's performing confusion to avoid that conversation that Gen Z is walking into the room with.
Right? Oh my God, that's so awesome. And then you zoom out even further
Mm.
and take it to the economic anxiety that we're all dealing with. People
Uh,
are carrying a huge amount of anxiety. The AI disruption, gas prices. Thanks a lot, Head Cheeto in charge for starting a war that we didn't even need. Butthole.
right, no doubt.
God, job insecurity. I mean, that's a huge one. Layoffs and everything. People know that their current trajectories, they those just
Mm.
may not hold. They may not been there. And it's, you call it uncertainty, but some of that is actually clarity. It just hasn't been acted on yet because the clarity for a lot of people, you see the writing on the wall, you know it's there, and you actually know that you want something else. What's missing from that conversation is that feeling of being safe to pivot, right? To shift out of something, which I think is interesting.
It is interesting, and that's absolutely right. I read something this week that said the cost of chronic uncertainty or of keeping yourself in a perpetual state of I'm still deciding type thing is actually measurable.
I
It
bet it.
shows up in your body, your relationships, your ability to be present, because part of your cognitive and emotional resources are constantly being used to maintain the performing of not knowing.
That is
That
so,
isn't that wild when you sit back and think about it?
yes, it is. And I mean, gratefully, we have our soul pillars, and we'll get into those towards the end of the podcast, because I think we've got some examples there about, especially with our body. And hey there. Every week, Natalie and I talk about our soul pillars on our High Heels to Happy Feels episodes. I would highly encourage you head to immersivespirit.com/soul pillars and check out these free tools. There's different things you can download to learn more about interacting with your body, heart, mind, and spirit, and how easy it is to develop your intuition, even at a much higher level with these free tools. We've loved creating them. We really hope you'll take advantage of them. They are free. immersivespirit.com/soul pillars. And now back to high heels to happy feels. And that, but I'm going to dig into the astrology here really quick and tell you what's happening in the sky this week, because it's mapping into a lot of this specifically. I mean, I think it's borderline eerie.
Right?
I mean, I know we talked about this, but okay. So we're right now in what's called a balsamic moon phase. And that's that final exhale, right? When you're in a waxing or a waning moon moving towards a new moon of our lunar
With
cycle.
these free.
And energetically, it's a releasing period. It's not a dramatic release. It's more like a surrender of the things that you've been holding into place, the performances you've been maintaining. That balsamic is the universe saying to you, set that down now, let it go. We're going into new territory, and you don't need to carry that, whatever it was, with you.
Right.
So, which I think is, we love our moon cycles here at
Yeah,
Immersive Spirit.
absolutely.
I
And I,
mean,
I love the set down phase because you actually have to take a measurable look at what you've been doing and be like, we're going to set this down now.
right? And then during the new moon phase, we look at it and go, okay, so what are you going to intend during this
Yeah.
next cycle?
Like
And we
pick it
pick
up
it
and
back
run
up.
now.
Right? Now pick it up and run, and then let go of the stuff that no longer serves, right? Let it go. And my allergies, my apologies, are just whooping me right now. But let's get into midweek, because Mercury, which governs that communication, right? How we think, how we process reality, is going to meet the sun in Taurus. And it's in what we as astrologers call a cazimi. It's when a planet is so close to the sun that you think of it like it's in the throne room, right? Essentially. So everything clarifies for us. And because this is happening in Taurus, which is a sign of values, of worth, of what we're actually building, right? It's thinking of those type of values thing.
Mhm.
And financials are really around that. That clarity that surfaces is specifically around those questions.
Mhm.
So yeah, questions that really people need to think about this week is like, what do I actually value? What have I been accepting that I don't value? And then the really hard one to that is, what am I worth?
Oh man.
I know, right?
So, I was just thinking, like, we come up with a lot of questions across our podcast. I hope people who listen to this, like, write some of these questions down because anyway, I'm sorry. Yeah,
I
that
agree. I
what am I
agree.
worth is like people need to sit with that one.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
it's
anyway,
and it's a hard one to break down. And
it
it's,
is.
I mean, here it comes, ready? Shadow work. But it actually is digging into yourself a little bit because that's what am I worth?
Yeah, and there's so many different perspectives you can take on that. Like,
Yeah,
what am I worth to my job? What am I worth to my family? What am I worth to myself?
right.
Like, whew,
I
heavy.
know.
Sorry.
It is.
Sorry.
It's a
All
heavy,
right.
it's a
So
heavy question, but it's
that was
one worth
midweek,
digging
right?
into. And then we have the new moon in Taurus, which is going to land on Saturday. So we got some more Taurus energy, right? So new moon's all about planting energy, like we said. And I love that we use the planting reference in Taurus. So, but they're not arrival moments. These are all about your intentions. So the question for the new moon in Taurus is asking us, what are you choosing to build your next chapter from? And because it lands alongside Mars, which is going to meet Chiron in Aries. So the planet of action, which is Aries, meeting that symbol of our old wounds, the wounded, kind of that wounded healer, which is Chiron. The invitation is specifically to take action while things are still a little tender. So
Mhm.
it's not fearless, it's just moving anyway.
So
So
Mars and Chiron are both going to be in Aries.
correct.
Okay. So Mars is the planet of action, right?
Yes.
Right. Okay. Gotcha.
You got it. Drive, right? And moving. And Mars is Aries' ruling planet. So extra
Oh,
energy
at
there
home.
at home. Yep. Yep. So by Sunday, Mercury is going to enter Gemini, and just almost immediately, it's going to meet Uranus. That's electric, sudden insight energy. So conversations that are going to change things. Oh, now I see it. Now I get it. Moments that move really, really fast for us. And the whole arc of the week really is release the performance and focus in on the clarity and then plant from your actual values of what you value yourself, what you're worth, and move even when it still feels a little raw. And it will. I think emotionally, it's going to feel very raw for people.
Yeah, I love that. Plant from your actual values, not from what you've been tolerating, from what you actually know you want.
Yeah, exactly. I love planning the planning reference for Taurus. I think it's so
Yeah.
cool since it's Earth energy, right, with Taurus, and
It's
it's
spring.
spring.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. But what you plant this week really grows from whatever you're planting it from. And this is a week you get to really choose consciously, right? And I think that's important. So,
Yeah.
breath. Astrology is a lot,
It
but
is a lot, but that's good. This is a good week. It's good shadow work week.
it is. And it's a good opening week to really start planting those seeds about who do you want to be when you grow up, right?
Yeah. And what do you want? Because you know,
You
like
know,
if you could write yourself, and when we do our manifesting course, which we've done a couple of times, one of the biggest parts of it is a permission slip, because I think that's the biggest hurdle.
I agree. I agree. Okay, so I'm gonna share something because I think it feels right.
Mm,
And kind of connects all this. A few years ago, in a situation I kept describing that was, still unfolding, and it was a creative situation. It was real and legitimate sounding and all of that. And there were some practical and financial considerations, timing. Every time someone asked me about it, I had a new version of I'm still figuring it out, you know. But I that was my go-to, that
mhm,
I'm still figuring it out. When I look back at that, every time someone asked, there was a specific thing, and I mean, I kind of felt it then too, but it's really easy to disregard. My stomach would flip a little bit, not confusion, but dread, borderline guilt, right?
yeah.
Where it's like, okay, am I really doing this? And I mean, and deciding felt so much more frightening than knowing. And I don't know if that makes sense. But I mean, just, the dread of, oh God, they're going to ask me again and I'm not ready. So I'm still figuring it out. I'm still putting the pieces together and that. And I think, I don't know, the feeling of that, just recalling
That's
that.
such a specific feeling. It's not, I don't know the answer. It's, I know the answer and I really, really don't want to.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And the thing that shifted wasn't new information. Nothing had changed
Mhm.
externally. What shifted was that I caught myself sitting there in that performance. I was in a conversation with someone and I could hear myself again. I'm still working through the details. And I watched my own face as I said it, and I
Yeah.
could feel it. And I thought, that's not true. You're protecting yourself. And I'm using uncertainty to just basically, I'm using it as a shield, right? And once I saw that, once you see it in yourself, once you feel that shift, once you see yourself acting that out, the performance ended. That was it. And it's not because I was suddenly brave or because it had nothing to do with that. It was the gap between what I knew and what I was saying was getting so wide I could no longer maintain it. It just,
Yeah. So what happened after that?
I was uncomfortable, miserable for like 48 hours. Maybe longer.
Right?
But it was as clear as I'd been. I was finally clear. And the clarity to stop fighting the moves and actually just start doing things, it just once I let go of that, I wasn't performing anymore. I wasn't in that confused state. Things just started falling together, which was perfect. It's what I needed.
That's the Mercury-Uranus moment, isn't it? Once the pretending drops, the energy that was going into the performance suddenly becomes available for something else. Things
Oh,
accelerate like
big
that.
time, big time. And that's the piece that I really want people to hear, right? The clarity was never the problem. The clarity was always there. I mean, and
Mhm.
being patient. What I was protecting myself from wasn't not knowing about it. It was knowing and then having to live accordingly and do it.
I think that's one of the most honest things we've said on this show.
Took me a few years to be able to say it.
And that's why this week matters because this guy is doing the things of making that gap between what you know and what you're performing feel too costly to maintain. And that's important, but it's uncomfortable, but it's a huge gift for us.
Oh, yes.
So let's walk through the pillars because this is one of the episodes where all four of them are genuinely activated. And I'm starting to say that during every episode, but
I know, but we use them all every
right?
time,
They
right?
matter.
That's why we say it is your mind, your heart, your body, your spirit. They are all connected. They are all important. Everyone's activated in everything you do, but sometimes there's super triggers that are like huge for everyone, where sometimes they might be smaller for another. I don't know.
Yeah, they
Anyway,
always
all
matter.
right, they all matter. We'll start with the mind. That's where most of the pretending actually lives. The mind is extraordinary at constructing stories that sound rational. We all know that. I need more information. Timing isn't right. I'm still processing. These all sound like wisdom. Sometimes they are, right? They're good. You got to take that time. But the tell is when you've been gathering information and longer than actually it would take to really put it together. Um, and it's when the research becomes the destination. When I'm still thinking about it has been the answer for so long that you've stopped noticing it's even a loop for you. The mind can generate a new reason for delay indefinitely if you let it. So the question to ask yourself this week is, am I thinking my way towards something or am I thinking my way around it? More
That's
questions to write
crazy.
down.
And I totally find myself in that. Like I
Oh my
can think
God.
of my mind loop that I'm living in right now. It's about something I want to do for immersive spirit, and I keep generating outcomes.
Uh-huh.
Like it's crazy.
And it's easy to do. It's very easy to get wrapped up in a circle, right? And let the mind, you think it's logic. Let your mind talk you out of something you already know. So are you working with it? I mean, are you actually thinking towards something? Or are you just using the permission and excuse wheel and working around something?
Yeah, that's just crazy. Like I can see it. And there's so much going on.
Yes.
All right, the heart, let's okay. So it signals way before your mind typically is going to admit anything to you. So it signals through that maybe like a low drag or that flatness that comes over you when you think about a particular situation. So the way a certain conversation feels heavy, even if it's on a calm day, the way you light up when you imagine the alternative and then quickly talk yourself out of it. That lighting up, that's the heart telling you something. The talking yourself out of it is the mind trying to protect you from it. So this week with Jupiter and Cancer supporting emotional truth, the heart signal is going to be a little louder and it's going to be worth listening to.
Ah, so true, right? Your
Hmm.
heart knows.
It does, always.
Always. The body is one of people that, we all underestimate because the body keeps score and it does it accurately and without an agenda, but we all feel it and disregard. So the tension that lives in you is specific part that's around, around that specific topic. So, for example, the stomach drop. When you say something that should feel like a yes, but it doesn't, feels more like dread and ugh, right? That ick feeling. The fatigue that isn't about sleep. So you're just exhausted, but you shouldn't be tired. The way your shoulders drop, the moment you stop performing something that was never true for you and you can feel your body relax. The body has been giving you permission and long before you gave it permission to. It's just been waiting for you to catch up.
Oh yeah. So that's good.
Yeah. Yeah. And the
Yeah,
new moon, I mean,
there's
yeah,
yeah.
go for it.
Well,
Talk about it with
there's
the
just
new
so
moon.
much to
Yeah,
the
because
body.
yeah.
Like this week I've been working on like past life regression stuff and doing some study about trauma type of things and like your body when you said records history or keeps the record, like
Yeah.
it records across time like so much stuff and if you start paying attention to your body, you can start releasing all of that. It's
So
just
true.
yeah. Yeah.
The body knows when you feel it. I mean, think of, well, we could talk about that all day long.
Yeah, like we keep extending this episode just
I know, but the soul pillars are so important. I
they
cannot
are.
express how important they are for everybody. So it's one of those that your body just tells you and gives you so much information automatically. The first time you meet somebody, the butterflies in your stomach on a date, how you relax automatically when you pet a dog, assuming you don't have allergies and you like dogs, right? But all of those different things that just your body just knows.
Yeah, just pay attention.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Get input awareness, which is, of course, our first
Mm,
layer in intuitive operating system. But like it is important, like understanding your inputs, understanding how to take that all in. All
yes,
right, sorry, I'm digressing completely. So there's the new moon in Taurus this week,
yeah,
which kind of is an invitation from the energetic field to align your intention with what's actually true for you. So this one, Steph talked about it in Taurus, is specifically going to be asking, like, what are your real values, not the ones that you're performing, not the ones you inherited without questioning, but the ones that actually govern what feels right in your body and what's worth building. Because what you plant this week grows differently depending on what you're planting it from. So
that's good.
it is, and planting from fear produces a different garden than planting from clarity. And this week presents one of those moments where you get to choose.
That is so good.
Yeah. And like make good choices, people. Follow
Make good
your heart, follow
choices.
your body, follow your like
Yes.
it's
Pay
all there.
attention. Pay attention. Your spidey senses, right? They're
Right.
telling you, you already know, but are you tuning it out? Are you listening? Are you listening? Yeah.
Right. Just listen listen every week. So
Yeah.
and every week we give you something that you can actually use, not like a concept to think about, but something that you can sit with or write with. And this week, it's kind of the stuff you already know inventory. And we have 4 questions for you. So let's light that up.
Yes. Okay. And I want to set these up by saying that these are not questions. uh, They aren't they aren't for the part of you that's still working out the logistics.
Mm.
These questions are really for the part of you that already knows. So if you can, go there first before you answer, right? So, question one, what situation in your life have you been calling complicated that, if you're being honest with yourself, isn't? Where's complicated become a way of having not to choose, right? Of being able to just not answer your own question. All right. Question two. What decision are you waiting on more information for? Like when you're being real with yourself, you already have everything you need to decide. What are you really waiting for?
That's a good one.
I know. Question three, if your closest person, the one who really knows you, described this situation to you exactly as it is, right? This exact same situation, and they were asking you about it and asked you what they should do, what would you tell them? And why
Hmm.
haven't you taken that same advice for yourself?
Yeah. Yep.
And that's always the good one, right? If you're to look in the mirror and have someone turn that on you and say, and ask the exact same question, what's your answer?
I love perspective questions. Just like that's my jam. All right. I
I
love
know,
that.
right? And it's great because it's mirror work is shadow work. So when you look in a mirror and you're asking yourself that same thing, yeah. Last one. What would you choose right now today if you stopped waiting for everything to feel safer? If the clarity was enough on its own, and that when clarity that the safer part of it was not an issue, what would you do? Which I think is really hard for people
I think it is too.
because the
I think it is
safety
too.
and the realism and those type of things really get in the way. But if you were really going to answer that question honestly, candidly, and you just had clarity about knowing, what would you do?
Yeah. And you don't have to maybe answer these questions out loud. Nothing dramatic. Like you don't have to do anything specifically with the answers this week, but I invite you to write them down because this particular window, the release of the balsamic, the new moon planning energy on Saturday, the clarity that surfaces midweek in communications is genuinely going to be so supportive for this kind of internal reckoning that's happening.
So true. And what you're planning for yourself is your next standard, right? And
Mhm.
it's planting. Sorry, with my allergies, it might have sounded like planting. Your next standard begins with what you're willing to stop pretending you don't already know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I could name one invitation from this episode, just one thing, it would be stop making your clarity wait for permission because you've been treating your own knowing like it needs to earn the right to be acted on, and it doesn't because you know what you know.
I love what you know.
You know what you know.
You know what you know.
Get down with
Honestly,
it.
right? It's you know what you know. Honestly, the bravest thing you can do this week isn't necessarily something big or giant or visible. It might be just quietly stopping the performance, letting what you know be true
Mhm.
inside of you first before anything else has to change. It's just knowing.
Yep, so good.
Yeah,
So if any of this resonated today, we would genuinely love to hear from you. So you can find us at immersivespirit.com. And if the Soul Pillars framework that we talk about every week feels like something you want to go deeper with, that's at immersivespirit.com as well under our Soul Pillars. So it's one of the most grounding tools I know for understanding how awareness actually moves through you.
absolutely. And we're on Instagram and all the platforms, right? Join us on YouTube. Our channel is exploding there at Immersive Spirit. We'd love to have you join us and pay attention to all the different little videos we do. And if you're looking for community with people that are doing this kind of inner work together, our Town Square membership is at immersive-spirit.com and it's free for your first 30 days. That includes the live workshops, the daily prompts in our Stargazer section, right around the astrology, and a truly kick-ass community. We are so fun, and we'd love to have you join us there. And then don't forget also, we'd mentioned the intuitive operating system. So that wait list, if you are on the wait list by end of day May 13th, and then you decide to enroll, you're going to have a smoking deal on this 10-week program. Smoking deal. I would highly, highly, highly encourage intuitiveoperating system.com, right? Or you can find it via immersivespirit.com as well. I will make sure that the link All of those details, we'll have them in the show notes and pinned for you so it's easy to access with our soul pillars. It's an amazing opportunity to start digging into some of this and getting that clarity, that mental clarity for yourself and really opening that up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It absolutely is so good. So good. All right. Anything else you
No,
want to throw out there?
I think we've run as much into the ground as we can.
Yay. Well, it was
And a
great
little
to,
late. It was supposed to be out yesterday, so
well,
best laid plans, but we are
things
no
happen.
excuses. No
Yeah.
excuses. It
No,
was
we don't. Yeah.
just
No.
busy. There's a lot of shit going on. Yep.
Right. Right. It may, yeah. Anyway, it was so good to have you here today. So from high heels to happy feels, I'm Natalie.
I'm Stephanie.
We'll see you next week.